getting a little bit outside the computer has been really nice. The view from the bedroom of my studio is incredible and very inspiring. But also the day-to-day practice of actually living in a home, um, doing the dishes, vacuuming, tidying up, taking out the recycling, dumping the compost down the street, feeding the dogs. All these things have been woven into the fabric of my life, and I feel like domesticity was something that was just locked away from me in New York. There was a place where I slept, whether it was in Harlem or in Brooklyn, but that wasn't where I lived. So I think to live in a place where you also sleep is new for me. Even at home in Washington, I was out of the house all the time. So I'm really interested in domesticity um, all the day-to-day mechanics of what goes into making a home. That's something I've thought about a lot being here. Um, Intellectually, I've kept up with the architecture strains that I find interesting. Liam Young's book that he edited, Machine Landscapes for AD. I've read a lot about televangelism, advertising. I'm increasingly interested in tax exemption. And I think I'm approaching all of this through a lens of kind of spirituality and how religion or the immanence of belief, when it provides a certain kind of protective layer or like an enchantment to things that we would usually see very clearly. There are things that make us feel powerfully that can kind of cloud how we see the actual mechanics of capital working inside them. I think the really easy things to point to are, it's 2019, it's June, Trump's first term as president is ending, and his blurring of reality and fiction, truth from lie, fake news. That's a really easy thing to point out. Scientology, it's really easy to point out. Televangelists that were asking for incredible donations and spending it on private planes is really easy to point out. But I think there are a lot of sneaky things that historically have existed and also have yet to exist, but could be tooled for productive ends or equalizing ends. Marxist ends is something I'm interested in. So I'm gonna check the time on the camera and pause the audio. And then something interesting maybe to talk about would be future plans in Charleston, South Carolina, what I kind of see happening, as well as maybe things that I will miss about Hawaii. And it feels appropriate to talk about that now. The things I'll miss, it's funny that being in Hawaii but living so far above sea level. It feels, sometimes we're in the low 60s a lot of the time, whereas in town it's mid 80s and sunny. Here it's cloudy and wet and cool. And I think that lens, it works well for my personality and where my attention goes. That climate allows me to focus, not be too sweaty, sun in my eyes, distracting me from the computer screen in front of my face. Other things I'll miss are, I don't know, I think it's just a sense of independence being here. Having a car is a huge component of that. I think what's also interesting is I haven't really invited people to come here. Half-heartedly, told Maurice he should come. Cameron Bills wanted to come, but that didn't work out. And Kevin, but I don't know. It was just, I didn't want to be the host because it feels like coming here was kind of treating it monastically. I always wanted to be, floating in the woods like this. And even now, just being in this posture, it's just such a wild feeling to feel suspended and, weightless, but surrounded by outside. You have the comfort of indoors in the excellence of outdoors, and all the mosquitoes that come with that. Sounds like a brochure for, a luxury home with a deck. But anyways, I've wanted a kind of temple-like existence, something that's been, it's a little different than I imagined when I first wanted to come to Hawaii, before Sasha was part of the equation and it was just me and Maddie looking at Maui. I imagined a lot more alone time, a lot more solitude. So sometimes here it's like a whole day can go by without me feeling truly locked into my solitude. And I think I'm really interested in the things that emerge when I give myself that solitude. Wow, is there blood on this mattress from a mosquito bite? Wow. So the solitude. Yeah, I feel a bit distracted right now. Maybe I'm just trying to talk too fast so that whoever's watching this in the future, even if it's myself, isn't bored. And again, there's that need to privilege a high quality product, that urge that's planted in us. Yeah. Maybe I don't have much more to say today. We're about to meet Mom and Dad, who are in town for dinner at Magic's. Why don't I talk about Holualoa? That's easy to talk about. So the town over from us, Holualoa, is kind of the area where coffee is grown. It's an artist village. And I was interested to learn about the history of Studio 7, which was the first art gallery in Hawaii. I believe that's on this island named Hawaii, not the island chain, but I could be wrong. Founded by Hiroki, a Japanese man who helped his parents run a pool bar, like billiards, and then eventually added an addition to the storefront and turned it into an art gallery. And his family, founded then Donkey Mill Art Center, kind of naturally emerged, which is why I took my ceramics class in February and learned how to throw on the wheel. And this community is really great because I feel like the artists and people that are a member of it, it's not too airy-fairy. It's not, they're not crystal wavers. They're not neo-hippies, bohemians, although they practice the values of those cliches, which is great because, it's something I've always, since my youth, valorized the ideals of hippies. But whenever I saw hippies around me, it felt completely inconsistent with the ideals of hippies that were in my mind. I would read materials and texts from the 60s and 70s, things from hippie modernism. And I think the things that I appreciate now are kind of the legacy of Buckminster Fuller and kind of that crew. But then when I saw the hippies around me, they were wearing, drug rugs. I don't think that's really the right word, but those Mexican ponchos, stupid Bali pants, practicing catchphrases loosely based in yoga, and just something I really hated. It felt extremely cosmetic.